Hi everyone. So I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about this project that I started doing. I think it was on the 15th day of printing, maybe the 16th. But anyway, so a friend of mine tagged me in a post on Facebook where they talked about creating small pieces of artwork, like on index-sized cards, so 3 inches by 5 inches, and sending them off to this group that's going to create thank you cards out of them and send them out to frontline workers, which I thought was great. I thought, oh, this is going to be awesome. I was going to work on small index card size pieces of cardstock because that was on my list of things to do. So I sat down, I pulled out my favorite colors and some smaller stencils. These are 3x3 stencils from Stencil Girl, and these are from Carabel Studios. And I pulled out my favorite colors. I pulled out Nickel Azo Gold and Burnt Sienna and Turquoise and Indian Yellow. Pulled out all my normal, colors that I would be using, and I started printing. And it was all going along great, and it was all looking really nice. And then I got to a point where I think I had just overworked the cards to death, and I hated the way they were looking. So at that point, I turned around and just printed over almost everything I had done. So I was working on a 5x7 jelly plate, this size, and these were the index cards. They're 3x5, so I could fit 2 and like a quarter on here. So I'll show you some of the ones that I originally made that I kept that were keepers, and then I'll show you the ones that I completely printed over and what I'm going to do with them. So here are some of the originals that I had made. And I'm okay with the way these came out. They had some nice backgrounds. I used Nickel Azo Gold, Golden Open Acrylics, Nickel Azo Gold for the background. I used a little bit of the Dylusions. That reddish color is this pomegranate seed. And then I used some Amsterdam Titanium Buff Light. And then I used Vibrant Turquoise for the turquoise colors in there. So I was okay with the way these ones turned out. I thought, okay, they were keepers. They got a little bit busy in the end. They're mostly stencil printed with some paint stenciling through, like open stenciling with not from the jelly plate. So I was like, all right, but the rest of them were just a hot mess and I hated them. So I just started inking up my plate, painting up my plate with a combination of Titan Buff and Nickel Azo Gold, and I went over all the rest of these because I just hated the way they turned out, and I was super frustrated, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna print over everything I've done and then kind of decide where I'm going with them. So now that I have over a dozen of them, plus these that are done, I'll probably send these off because I like the way they came out. And then I went off on a tangent and started doing these colors. I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, now I think they look awesome. These are great backgrounds. You can kind of see some of the elements showing through. You can also see how some of them got super messy and super ugly. But putting a layer of sort of an opaque, this mixed with, not Indian Yellow. There's my Nickel Azo. Here we go. Mixed with this. So this was Titanium Buff Light from Amsterdam and Nickel Azo Gold from Golden. Mixed together, not completely. You can see how some of it is splotchy, which I like. So now what I'm going to do, that I have fixed these, or at least in my mind that I fixed them, I'm going to go over them with turquoise. I'm either going to use the Vibrant Turquoise from Dylusions or this Dina Wakely one, which is called Peacock, which is a slightly darker version of a turquoise. And I'm going to go over them with one single element in turquoise, and I'm going to use an art foamy stamp. I don't know if any of you know what those are, but I love art foamies. I think they're a lot of fun to work with. You can work with them on the jelly plate, or you can just stamp with them on their own. But I have a thing for circles. I like having circle design elements in my work. So I have amassed a large collection of circle art foamies. So I definitely have enough to put one single circular element on each of these printed cards that I have. And this big one, which I will print kind of off there. So this is the next step for these. I'll take a photo of them when they're done. But I wanted to talk about this just to prove that like you go in with the best intentions of doing something. And similar to the way when I had printed with black, white, and red, for whatever reason, I couldn't get everything to work together and play nicely together. So in the end, I wound up just going over the whole thing. After having printed for almost an hour, I realized that I was overworking them to death and that I had to basically regroup and reform and redo them. And now I love them. I mean, honestly, I'd keep them like this because I think the backgrounds are grungy and gorgeous. So sometimes mistakes, or like Bob Ross used to say, happy accidents, turn into something that is really wonderful. And I think that's what these are.
Becoming the best at it and mastering myself and seeing what I have within me. If you decide to drop your buckets where you are and develop your gifts, I grant you, you will never ever be without. I grant you that your gifts will take you places that will literally amaze you.
sounds good right now after what we just experienced, doesn't it? Grilling out, lawns being mowed, and pools opening. These are some of the things we expect with summer.
This knife has a straight edge on it, so it's very easy. And maybe in our world here, there lives a happy little mountain.